It usually happens on an entirely unremarkable Tuesday evening. There is no sudden shift in the atmosphere, no celebratory music, and certainly no immediate urge to quit a job or buy a luxury car. Instead, the moment arrives quietly, illuminated by the cool glow of a laptop. You log into your brokerage account, or perhaps update your net worth spreadsheet. And there it is. The balance crosses the threshold of $300,000. For a brief second, you might stare at that number, expecting a transformation. You have spent years directing a portion of every paycheck into index funds. You have endured market corrections and the quiet fatigue of delayed gratification. As you walk to the kitchen, the realization is one of striking normalcy. Tomorrow, the alarm will still go off at 6 in the morning. The commute will still take 45 minutes. The emails will be waiting. The world does not change, but your relationship to it begins to shift. We have to dismantle the pervasive cultural myth surrounding wealth accumulation in America. We are conditioned to believe in finish lines. Financial security is a destination. Once you hit a number, you transition from working class to wealthy class. This belief is emotionally sticky because it provides a necessary illusion. When you are starting out, looking at a negative net worth or bank account, the journey ahead seems insurmountable. You need to believe in a magical threshold, the idea that a specific number will serve as a permanent shield. This belief is fundamentally flawed because it misunderstands the mechanics of capital. A net worth of $300,000 is not an exit strategy. It is a structural buffer. It begins to act as a secondary engine. It is powerful enough to be noticed, but not yet powerful enough. The reality of this stage is entirely bound by constraints and trade-offs. Wealth at this level is not about excess, it is about order. If you apply the traditional 4% rule to $300,000, it generates roughly $12,000 a year in passive income. That breaks down to exactly $1,000 a month. It might cover your family's grocery bill, or perhaps your monthly utility costs, but it does not come close to covering a mortgage or healthcare. This is the structural ceiling. You have built a fortress with low walls. Effort and discipline brought you here, but math still rules fixed costs. You still require an active income to fund your household and life. Medical care and housing costs far exceed the yield of your portfolio. The money is trapped in tax-advantaged accounts or tied up in equity. It must compound for 2 more decades to protect your old age. Consider a household earning $120,000 a year. $300,000 represents 2.5 years of income. More importantly, it represents a decade of disciplined, post-tax savings. If money sits entirely in retirement accounts, it is a ghost asset. It provides comfort, but cannot pay for a sudden transmission repair. This forces a sober recognition of liquidity and financial risk. With $10,000, a 10% drop is only $1,000. With $300,000, a 10% correction erases $30,000. That is equivalent to the cost of a brand new vehicle. The burden of wealth preservation now competes with the drive for accumulation. You start paying closer attention to asset allocation and tax efficiency. The financial stakes have now quietly and significantly escalated. This evolution of strategy and psychology highlights how financial milestones depend on your stage. In the beginning, personal finance is almost entirely behavioral. Getting from $0 to $50,000 requires sheer force of will. It requires cutting expenses, working extra shifts, and avoiding high-interest debt. At that early stage, strategies like extreme couponing actually move the needle. But at $300,000, those micro-behaviors lose their impact. Saving $50 on groceries does not alter a fluctuating portfolio. The usefulness of pure frugality diminishes, replaced by structural optimization. The strategies that got you out of debt will not guide you to millions. This stage is the messy middle of wealth building. It requires patience. Progress is no longer measured in rapid leaps, but in slow compounding. It is not about speed anymore, it is about endurance and avoiding errors. The practical reality of reaching this milestone is remarkably subdued. People who reach this level of saving do not typically overhaul their lives. They do not walk into their boss's office and resign. Instead, their behavior changes in subtle, internal ways. The fear of losing a job transforms from terror into an inconvenience. They still check grocery prices out of habit, but no longer lose sleep. An unexpected $500 water heater repair is no longer a crisis. The behavioral inertia of saving is incredibly difficult to turn off. It is psychologically jarring to suddenly treat money as a tool for consumption. Therefore, people in this position tend to remain largely the same. They might authorize a nicer family vacation or buy more reliable appliances. But the fundamental structure of their daily lives remains completely unaltered. They continue to endure corporate life, parenting, and routine home maintenance. The profound difference is not in what they do, but how it feels. The crushing weight of no options is replaced by a safety net. Money acts as a silent partner, insulating them from worst-case scenarios. It is the invisible margin between being a victim and a participant. Reaching $300,000 is not the end of the struggle. It is the quiet beginning of having a choice in how you endure.